All right, let's go to our third game here. It's a Monday night battle between Houston and the Cincinnati Bengals, two teams that were supposed to be really good this year. One has been perfect. The other's been a catastrophe, or at least very disappointing. The thing about Houston, 3-5 record, 3-5 against the spread. They actually have good numbers for quarterback Brian Hoyer, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, which means you have to ask the question, well, why did they have all this quarterback controversy, flip-flopping him and Mallett, who's since been released? So Hoyer's numbers are actually pretty good. They've got talent to have balance on offense with Adrian Foster and Alfred Blue, but these guys just haven't produced. 3.7 yards per carry for Blue, 2.6 for Foster with some injuries. So the offense has been heavy on passing the football, number 6 in the NFL. And then the defense, who knows which defense of the Houston Texans showed up. Off a great game against Tennessee, allowing 6 points. But they've had some meltdowns all season long. So Harvard, not sure what to make of this Houston team for Monday night.
Well, I know what to make of it. And right now, a lot of people are saying, well, Houston, take the double digits. Look how they've won 2 of the last 3 games. But look who they beat. They beat Jacksonville and they beat Tennessee. And it kind of reminds me when Miami went over to England and got crushed. They fired the coach. They came back. What did they do after that bye week? They came and they won 2 games in a row. Then they finally had to play somebody. They had to play New England, got crushed. They had to play Buffalo, got crushed. Same thing's going to happen Monday night. Cincinnati's going to put the crush on. The defense for Houston, where are they? J.J. Watt, are you even around? What are you, out there chopping wood, making commercials? The one star, I agree with you, John, is Brian Hoyer. I really like that quarterback. There should have never been a quarterback controversy, but you know what? The best part about that is there is no quarterback controversy. They say when you have 2 quarterbacks to choose from, you don't have any. Well, right now they only have 1, and he's a good quarterback. I like that kid. But Cincinnati, I'm telling you, I could run it all the way from my top of my head down to 6'4" of me on all the superlatives that you could give Cincinnati. Dalton, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. All right, he gets sacked once in a while, but that doesn't mean he has a bad offensive line. His offensive line is rated A-. That's very good. You got Bernard, the running back, 5.6 yards per carry. Consider that versus what we just talked about with Lynch at 3.2 yards per carry. He's doing incredible. The defense, they're allowing just under 18 points a game. And on my all-animal team that I picked probably I think it was the first or second week of the season, tight end Tyler Eifert. This guy is absolutely made what Dalton needed. He always had Green to go out wide, but he didn't have anybody that could sit there and catch underneath the coverage. Well, right now, Eifert, he does everything. On the defensive side, strong secondary. They got probably the best secondary in football. This team is just absolutely just mowing people down. Don't worry about laying the 10 points. And I'll tell you what, there's an old adage on Monday Night Football, and it runs about 94% since the inception of it, 30, 40 years, whatever it was. The team that wins on Monday night will cover the spread. If you look at it, almost very few games where you have one team win, but the other team covers the spread for Monday Night Football. So all you do on Monday night, pick the winner. If you think Cincinnati's just going to win, don't worry about the number. And whether it works this week or not, that's not even my point. That's a handicapping tip that you could take for the rest of your lives. On Monday night, just pick the winner. It doesn't this doesn't crisscross. So take Cincinnati, lay the 10, and go to the movies.
Well, Houston on Monday Night Football has been terrible, 0-7 against the spread, so they may add to that run here. They're also terrible after a win, 3-12-1 against the spread. The line for this game, Cincinnati opened 12, and it was bet down a little bit to 10.5, total of 47.5. This Bengal team not only undefeated at 8-0, but they're 7-0-1 against the spread, and they have been point spread demons at home, 18-6-2 spread run. And as you mentioned, they really have it all. There's no weaknesses with this team. They have depth. They have balance on offense. They have a powerhouse defense. And Andy Dalton, he's been in some pressure situations. He's come through. He's been handing the ball off with the running game as well. 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, only 11 sacks. He's barely been touched. And he's been terrific. Look at the last 2 games. They went to Pittsburgh, were trailing much of the way, but rallied late for an impressive 16-10 win in a hostile environment in a big divisional game. And then the last home game was they beat up on the Browns on a Thursday night, 31-10. So, Zach, how do you look at this game? Another Cincinnati beatdown at home?
It's just one of those things. You have to take the Cincinnati Bengals right now. If you go against them, you're going to lose money, it seems like. But, it's one of those things when teams are undefeated, it's difficult for the odds makers, it's difficult for the handicapper, it's difficult for the public to keep going with a team like this. Because Cincinnati, Andy Dalton has not had the track record. Marvin Lewis, been a coach there forever. He doesn't have the track record. Bengals defense, they're not the best in the NFL. I think they're 15th or 16th ranked, so you never know when that bad game is coming for them, especially if Andy Dalton doesn't have his A game. They could be susceptible to these high spreads. But if you look at their opponent, the Houston Texans, their defense is, I think they're 29th or 30th in the NFL. Absolutely awful. Offensively, Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett, there's a reason why those two were battling back and forth in the offseason and into the season. It's because they're both horrible. Brian Hoyer was in this Bengals division last year, struggled just about this time. He struggled just horrifically. I think the Browns were 6-2 at one stretch, and then he just had 6 or 7 games that just cost them a chance to make the playoffs. And he's just not. There's a reason why he's not a starter. He cannot play an entire season. So I think we're going to see an awful game from Brian Hoyer. And he basically has the burden of carrying this offense. I know he has a great receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, but if the Cincinnati Bengals do their job to shut him down, who else is he going to go to? It's just going to be a bad game, and I think you got to just keep taking Cincinnati. There's going to be a time where you're going to go opposite of them, but not right now.
Hey, let me add one other thing. John mentioned that Cincinnati's on a 7-0-1, I believe you said, spread wins. When you look at that stat, don't pay a whole lot of attention to that stat. I mean, yes, it's true, 7-0-1, but what'll happen is, I've been gambling, since I was the 8th grade picnic. The thing that you'll do is you'll say, oh my gosh, they're 7-0, they're due to lose. I can't get on them now because I didn't have them with the first 7 games. So I better bet against Cincinnati. You know what? That's a good stat. It's good to monitor and things like that. It has its usage. But don't sit there and say because they're 7-0, they're due to lose or the book's setting you up or anything like that. I mean, it's like right now, I'm 17-5 on my 10-star plays, and I'm not due to lose any more than due to win next Saturday. So don't take that 7-0-1 and think, oh, I can't afford to lay the points with Cincinnati because they're due to lose. That's all I wanted to add on that, because a lot of those stats will start coming in as we go into the rest of the season.
That's right. That's a good point. This Cincinnati secondary, they're capable of shutting down DeAndre Hopkins and anybody else. They're so talented. Bengals, they're not used to being in the role here of double-digit favorite. They've been once that this season. That was the game against Cleveland that they blew them out. They were only once last year, and they didn't cover that game. That was against Jacksonville. They were 10-point favorites and won by 10. And a couple of oddities with the Bengals is that in night games they're 4-14, and with Andy Dalton at quarterback in prime time, 4-7. But it's probably more of an anomaly because the last game they played was in prime time, and Dalton was great, and they blew out the Browns. With that said, the way I look at this game is probably a defensive game. Houston coming off that game, allowing just 6 points. They're going to try to have balance, but Cincinnati just is so loaded on defense. They're so tough to run on and pass on. Then you get the weather conditions outdoor in Cincinnati at night. It's going to be around 48 degrees. There's possible rain during the day and maybe at night. Bengals on a 2-0 run under the total. That doesn't surprise me with this powerhouse defense. And when the Bengals score 30 points or more in a game, the next game they're 23-6-1 under the total. And when these teams meet, 5-2 under the total. I'm going to look at a lower scoring game on Monday night. All right, let's tell you how we have what we have going on for the weekend. Harvard, you have these high roller 10-star releases now on a 17-5 run, and sometimes you double these up in a 2-pack for people.
Well, before I get into that, I do have one other thing. Anybody that can answer this. In the Atlanta-San Francisco game, with the score 14-10 and just seconds left, it seems like they're on the 1-foot line, and Dan Quinn sent out his field goal team to make the final score 14-13. If anybody knows why he did that, that's one question you can answer. If you don't want to take one on that, tell me this one. Why didn't somebody go and tackle him and tell him what the situation was? Okay, I think John will put up something where you can email that in. That thing has got me baffled. I think all of us have been looking towards the Atlanta Constitution or whatever that paper is down there, and we can't figure it out. 14-10, you don't kick a field goal to lose by 1. All right, back to the 10 stars. I'm 17-5. Let me tell you, I thought that Indiana was one of the better plays. They were covering the whole game. All right, I'm a big boy. It lost. Very close, though. I know a lot of people put out big plays, and they lose 55-0. This one, also close. Cincinnati came through and won, so we split on Saturday with my 2 conference games of the year. Came back on Sunday, and because we're transparent here, I have to admit I lost Dallas in overtime. Another one that I thought we would at least sneak out a tie maybe, or maybe a win. Well, that brings my 10-star total to 17-5. My overall, because I put out a couple games, 3 games on Sunday, going 2-1, I'm 40 winners, 22 losers. 40-22 with 2 ties. Now, this week, the granddaddy of them all. Everybody waits for the granddaddy of them all because they know there's not going to be any bigger game than the high roller game of the year, the one and only. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put out that game. Also, college basketball starts this Friday. There's so many games, Friday and Saturday. I'm going to give you my top play Saturday absolutely free with my high roller game of the year. So you're going to be getting a college basketball game. The lines are soft. Don't sit there and go for that BS because your bookie doesn't want to take it until after the bowl games. I'm telling you, the reason he's saying that is because soft lines. The bookmakers out here, you can bet $100,000 in NFL. They limit it to like $3,000 in basketball because they're afraid they'll get crushed. Don't mind that at all. So you're going to get the high roller game of the year. It's my biggest play of the season, a free basketball game, and I'm going to guarantee this. My high roller college football game of the year, it's an underdog, has to win outright, or you're going to get my NFL 3-pack, including the 10-star on Sunday, absolutely free. So you got to win the game straight up as an underdog, or all 3 NFL games are free, including the 10-star NFL Game of the Month. So just go to jimfeist.com. I guess you're already there. Click over to Harvard, and we'll get you going.
Okay, and I think what happened in that 49ers-Falcons game is that the head coach originally called for a punt from the 1-yard line. The assistant coaches came over and said, no, that's a dumb idea. We should kick the field goal.
Field goal from the 1-foot line.
Yeah,
okay, but you know what? They accomplished what they wanted to. If you send the field goal kicker out to get 3 points, he got the 3 points, and they lost 14-13.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, what happened to these stupid coaches?
When they scored the touchdown before that, they didn't go for the 2-point conversion. Had they got that, the field goal would have tied late. So
maybe he thought they got it. Well, you know, he was reading comic books then or something. Who knows?
They have a lot to answer for. All right, Zach, your record in college, actually both college and football, is sizzling 34-19-1. This college football season, that's not over yet, and we're at the halfway point of the NFL season. 23-13-1. You're part of these handicapper 3-packs. How can folks get those?
Yeah, you know what? I'm finally hitting that stride both in NFL and college football. It took probably till mid-October to get that feel I needed to have, but I think I'm there in both sports. And then, like how I said, we've got college football or college basketball starting on Friday. I'm really anxious for that. But yeah, jimfeist.com. Go on there, and I will give a free play for college basketball for everyone out there. Cal State Northridge Friday against Northern Illinois. This game's played in at Northern Illinois' home court. But we're going to go with the underdog. I think the line will be 4.5, 5.5. Cal State Northridge. I think Reggie Theus has that team. They got rid of a lot of the toxic players from dismissal last year. They went through that bad year, and I think they'll be ready to play Friday night.
You like those small colleges under the radar?
Hey, John, let me say this, too, about college basketball. On the first part of the season, there's a couple schools. Doesn't matter how many, let's say 5, 10, 15 schools, they replace their rims. The rims are very tight. So what happens is when the guards shoot, it hits a very tight rim and bounces way outside of the perimeter. Well, that's a strong home court advantage because all of a sudden you see the center and the forwards, they're sagging more towards the outside. And actually the visiting team is wondering, how come I'm getting position on these guys? Because the shooter either makes it or it hits the tight rim and bounces further out and you can grab the rebound. Well, what you want to do is, like Zach just said, some of these smaller schools, they have a lot of these little guards that sit there and they like to shoot the threes and all that. A lot of these guys, especially from the MAC conference, well, this is the type of information that we have, that you need, that you might want, that leads to point spread covers. So little things like that you probably, I don't know where you'd even find out that information. I know where I get it, but I'm not sure where you would get it. But these are things that you can do to influence the game, probably more so than in any other sport, except maybe the home plate umpire in baseball.
Yeah, I remember last year, Zach, didn't you have a start in college basketball that was insane, like 40-10 or something over?
I think that was me.
No, it was 51-14, and we'll see what we can do. But I'm anxious for college basketball. I think we're gonna have another good start in it.
Anxious. You got plays up even before the season starts. All right, Jim Feist has his college football game of the year going this Saturday. Jim is 11-4-1 since 1999 with this play. You can find that play at jimfeist.com, or if you want to get a discount, you can call the number on your screen. All right, that'll do it for the NFL version of ProLine. Good luck with the games, everyone, and we'll see you next week.